8 o'clock. Center of balance. EQ's leading. I think I maybe have two trades here. I'm just going to keep going and maybe rack up 30 minutes of footage. Okay, there's a trade at the edge of VPOC at 41.75. Looks like seller side, auction shifting lower, 70 and 14 at 42s. The ask becomes stale, so I scratch it. Liquidity dries up and the maker pulls to the upside. Looks like I'm trying to catch long now on the shifting of the auction from the inside prints at 42.25 and 42.50. And then I pull it and go short. Ape stops and walks lower. It hits my limit, but it doesn't fill me. And then the auction shifts lower at 41.50. Then there's some back ticking to the downside at 42 evens, and the auction shifts lower, and that's my entry for getting in. There's low liquidity at 42 from active participants, and the maker looks like they want it lower. We're also teetering on the edge of value. Price jumps. Somebody sells 18 at 41, so it looks like the maker's hunting for liquidity, and he finds a seller at 41. And the auction shifts lower on the active participant side. So this is a good trade. I want to see how it reacts at 39.25s. So the maker pulled it all the way down, and then a buyer shows up, and I'd get out there at 39.50 because the buyer showed up and there was a reaction. But then the Nasdaq sells off more, so it looks like we're going to 38. And there's liquidity at 38. There's a 43 in the ES, which is a larger contract. And then I pull what looks like for no reason, to be honest. The auction was still shifting lower. See, they pull again, and then a seller, they didn't pull this time, a seller steps in 24 and 18 at 38.75 and 39. I'd look for 38, 37.75. And they walk it higher. It's a good trade, and I like it. We run up to high of day. Well, let me watch high of day again. I was talking about this yesterday, and footage I was supposed to upload, but file corrupted. So, is that high of day on NASDAQ too? It's something on NASDAQ. I think it was. Where the 89 is on NASDAQ. If there's a green line high of day there, it's too fast for me to see. So ES pushes high of day. Then the volume sustains, which is good for breakout. I was looking for a fade opportunity, but it looks like we're breaking out 831. Yeah. So we're pushing it higher. Now we're at high of day on NASDAQ. We run it over and we continue to run it over. And there's liquidity up there. And then we stop. So I'd be looking for a breakout, even though it's really hairy. The price action is hairy because of how much it's jumping. And we're still holding up there, so I'm still biased towards a breakout. I want to say I'm biased towards a breakout and I take a long there, but it's just jumping so much that it's so hard to read and it's too fast. So I don't know if it was news or something, but I said I was biased towards a breakout and we pushed high of day again. And this time when we push high of day, we sell off and they hold 63.25s again. The NASDAQ sells off, so it's time to go. And we're watching 63.25s. If we get above that, it's time to get out. We're shifting lower. We push 63s again. They're pulling it lower. There's some uptaking from buyers now. There's some actual demand from buyers. We push 63.25 again for the third time, for the second time at least, and the seller steps in and they sell it lower. I'll be back. There's a 179 at 54.25s. We're coming off of high of day, which is bearish. Tape stopped. Tape stopped at 58.50. There's no liquidity there, and then they sit on the bid of 58 evens. And then we ladder lower. It looks like he pulls. No, it traded. That's good. Okay, and then tape stops again at 56. I'm bearish from high of day. This is kind of weird. A long at 56. Where'd it go? It's gone. So what, it was there for 5 seconds? Who cares? I'm skipping it. Okay, there it is. 57. We see a rally from buy side. There's low liquidity up there. Tape stops and then an auction shifts, which is why I get long. Okay, and they fill me off of messy prints. And liquidity dries up. It's time to get out. Yeah. Not to mention that's against high of day, and we're already in value off of against high of day, as in we came off of high of day. We're back pushing high of day. That's interesting. 851. I don't know if there are any other trades in this. We form a balance area there, which is bullish for the long term, that we're building value higher. Price sells off. There are no other trades. This is this might be really messy. It's probably one of the days where I just spammed trades and went horribly negative. Or maybe not. I didn't take any trades. It's just me watching tape. Okay, yeah, here it is. And then I spam them. Yeah. That's a breakout. Liquidity's shifting higher. The auction shifts lower. Yeah, time to get out. So we're holding higher prices. Nasdaq looks like it's holding higher prices too. There's back ticking to the buy side, 87.25. We push up and auction shifts higher, which is bullish, and then an active participant plunges the market. They throw it up higher. The maker doesn't pull. We long again off of that buyer showing up at 87, which is an all right scalp trade. I agree with it. At the edge of value as well, it's worth a try. If it comes back to the entry, it's time to get out. Yep. And then we're back in value now. Swap short. They fill me on a weird fill. That's a good fill. Well, no, it's not actually, but it's all right. And then I pull lower. Yeah, probably looking for 80s even if we can get below 82.50. Right, an auction shifts lower at 84. The Nasdaq is slowly grinding lower. It's stair stepping, so it'll pull down and then come back up and stop, and then pull down and come back up and stop, which means the seller is in control. We see sellers at 82.75, and then a buyer steps in, but the auction in general shifts lower from 83.50 to 82.25, 82.50, I mean. They're active participants, which means value is building lower, and I'm bearish. I'm still looking for 80s. And then a buyer steps in on NASDAQ, and that would be my kind of signal to get, I would say signal to get out, but they throw it up higher on NASDAQ and ES doesn't want to move, which means there's a true auction in the ES down there, which is interesting. Um, and then we eventually throw down to 80s and we cross the LVN from 82.25 to 82 to 80.25 period. VPOC shifts. And we just build that value. So I thought I was okay stepping away. So my nerves got the best of me here probably. I thought I was spamming trades here, but I wasn't, and that's good. There are a couple days where I go negative $1 million because I just spam trades thinking I'm a genius. I was reading the inside prints. I mean, even in like a practical sense, that won't work because of the fees. I'm gonna end up paying like maybe $5 to $10 a round turn, and it's $12.50 a tick. So fees could be like maybe maximum 40% of my profits. And we're pushing low of day now, and there's momentum on low of day. I said that and we shot up, which means I was wrong. It doesn't look like there are any other trades. That's good that I threw 2 or 3 and then walked away. That's a review, that's a review, that's a review. This is a review. This is tape 24. I already reviewed this. Let's do an early one. Ew. 13. This is 4 o'clock. Okay. This is late into the session, so tape is different. Flip short. There's no correlation here. You're watching the ladder. It's an alright scratch. This is a different read. So I'm just going to focus on speed of tape. So there's upticking from buyers at 61.75, and then they step it higher. Then somebody pulls it lower. The maker pulls it lower, looking for an auction between 62.25 and 63.50. Time to get out because I'm immediately offside, even though liquidity is drying up. I'm just going to lose this trade because I'm hoping and praying. We see a little bit of backticking and the seller's in control. We lost 63 evens and now we're going to the short side. That's a poor entry because of how fast it is. It should be up at 62.25 at least. And liquidity dries up again, so we're just forming a sticky auction. It has to be, the long has to be at around 62, the short has to be at around 62.75 if I'm going to get in. So I'm just taking paper cuts here off of poor entries. 62.50 is a long, that should be a short. Because the market is selling lower. I'm also long, and it's 4 or 5 ticks away from me, so I'm just losing money for a hoping, and I'm just losing money from a hope and pray strategy. Even though it came back in my favor, it should have been a loss. And then I go long 2, probably trying to compensate for initially losing it, and then I move the profile because that's definitely the problem. Is the profile? That's definitely the problem. Is the profile wasn't long enough. It's not because of my poor trades. Okay, I return the value, and then they pull it lower. A seller gets absorbed at 64 even, and then he steps in again and sells it off the profile. And then I'll watch this long. Okay, we have some uptaking now. We're back in the value area between 69 and 64.50. I accidentally get long 2 contracts, and the maker takes me for a ride. They pull all the bids and the asks. Okay, we see some upticking and the shifting of an auction, and they sell it lower. Now a seller steps in, so I'm against the seller and the maker who walk it off the profile down to 62.50, I think. And then I get long there again, trying to play the bounce in the profile. The maker wants, it looks like he wants an auction from 63.25 to 65.25 at around there, and he's getting it. Sellers step in, and they get absorbed, so there's a bit of a bullish bias now, and they pull it lower. So the auction's over and they sell it lower. I like the pre-market in the early morning better than 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Well, it doesn't really matter what I like. 69.75. Yeah, maker side pulling it lower, looking for 58s. That probably gets hit. And I flip long at 58s, which is too early. It looks trying to play 58.75 to 60 evens by the looks of it, and then I flip long. That's just a misread of noise. So it should just be one. Preferably short because we're moving off, but if it's gonna be long, if it's gonna be long, it has to be the 58.50. Yeah. Then I see some uptaking to 63.50, which is where I should get out. Yeah. Buyer shows up. That's good, but they walk it down, so they're forming another sticky auction. That's a good, yeah, pretty much. Yep. And I think it goes back down. Yep. Um. Okay, so this is an hour of probably. This is 2 hours of probably poor trading. So I can't narrate all of it. I have 5 minutes, and it's really not worth looking at because of how bad it is. And I don't like the conditions either. Because let me just fast forward. We're skating in we're sitting in maybe maximum a 20 tick range for an infinite amount of time. So I'll do the next 5 minutes. This is a val break. This is a val breakout trade. Tape stops, so I get out. There's another breakout trade. This is a short because we came back into value, but I'm offside 5 ticks. It's obvious at prices. Price is building a new balance area to the upside and won't revert back to the mean, which is bullish. And I get long, and it goes against me just because of a poor entry. 62.25 is where you should get in. I flip short, and then it rallies against me because we're still bullish. That's a good long. It's an all right long. And then I stack contracts thinking it's time for the Holy Grail. And then we accept back into value. We run over 62.25, cross the LVN, and now we're back into value, which is bearish. So I flip short, trying to play low volume node. And then it rallies against me. So I'm looking for shorts at 68.75 now. Yeah, it's a good fill, 69.50. Yeah, I cut it too early. Never mind. And then tape stops at 62.50 past the HVM. It would be a short at 64 evens or 64.50. Probably be 64.50. There. And then we see a seller step in at 64.50. They walk it lower from the LVN. And they come back. And then there's upticking. And the seller isn't anywhere to be found, and the pressure leaves. So it's time to get out. I flip short. They're still upticking. Time to get out. Yep. Okay, good 2 tick loss. That's all you can ask for, really. I want to see them sell it off. So I flip long now. And then the seller steps in. 18.25, auction shifts lower and the seller steps in. Then the maker pulls down to 63.50, 63 evens. So upticking. And then tape stops and the maker pulls it higher. So I thought 63.25 was the floor and it wasn't. And then an auction shifts higher. So all right, I caught that one, I guess. I have to go back and watch it again because I don't understand it. Tape stops. There's some uptaking now. Liquidity dries up at 63s. I'm immediately offside, which would be a sign to get out. And then a buyer steps in at 62.50 and saves me. Okay, and then we see uptaking from there. Then the maker pulls from 63.50 to 64.25. Then an auction forms at 64.25 to 64.75. And we're past the LVM now. So I'd want them to pull to 67 or to hunt liquidity at 67. But it's really just skating. Now tape stops there, and the majority of the price action has been between 62.75 and 65.50, which means value is building over this LVN at 63.75. So asking for something like 67.50s right here is irrational. And that was a good scratch because tape stopped. I think it's going to reverse now because of that. We see an auction and then some down ticking and then a buyer steps in. And they actually pull it to 67. Never mind, 66. A seller steps in. But we're already in the value area. And they step in at 66 and walk it all the way down to the LV again. And then I try the same long again, but the entry is poor. It's 8 o'clock. That's enough.